Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cyclocross Social podcast. We are back with another episode. Busy week for us this week, but we are happy to do so to provide you a preview of the European Championships taking place in Namur. Issam, thank you once again for being here today.
Yeah, no problem.
So the European Championships, after being hosted in the Netherlands for quite some years, 2 times Rosmalen, 1 time Heubergen and 1 time Vanthourenhout last year, we are in the motherland at the moment of cross, Belgium. Namur, we all know the course, famous for its massive off-camber, hosting the European Championships this year on a slightly different course. Issam, what do you know about the changes that have been made to the course?
I mean, if you compare it to last year, I think there are some changes made. I think one of the main changes that have been made in this course is that long climb where you have to run that climb at the end of the race is now kind of gone. That famous U-turn that you have as well, where you kind of come from asphalt and then you have to turn into gravel, is also going to be taken from the other side. So there are some changes, some minor than others, but I think overall main elements of Namur, which we know, like the off-camber and the cobbles that have been run for a couple of years already, those things are still there, and it's still typical. It's still at the Citadel, and it's still a very tough course.
Yeah, the changes are nothing too shocking. It's almost the Namur we know from the past couple of seasons. Just like last year, the stupid stairs downhill covered by sandbags that get exposed when it's raining has been removed. We take the double off-camber section followed by a off-camber downhill onto the cobbled climb, and then the cobbled climb onto the off-camber, which is a bit higher again, just as last year. And then indeed the run into the finish is being altered. It's back to what it was, I think, prior to 2018. That's, I think, a nice addition, and it's built on an idea that if the race goes down towards a sprint or a group of riders that need to fight it out for the win, you get an epic uphill sprint similar to what we've seen on the Koppenberg. And then I think the organization, courses set out by Erwin Vervecke, is dreaming about the similar scenario as yesterday. One rider up ahead, Van Haar launches from behind and then overtakes him. Very dramatic final. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Maybe it's not a course without flaws, but no need to go into that too much. We'll discuss the racing and the favorites. So now we've had the course, Issam. Men's race, who do you think is the favorite on this course? Who does the course suit best?
It depends on the weather a little bit, but I think at the current state at the moment, then you have to look into the guy that is in form at the moment, Lars van der Haar. I think that he is looking very good the last weekend in the last 3 races, and that is definitely the one to beat in my opinion. But I think that the course also suits Iserbyt, the climbing as well. I think that Iserbyt will be up there, and then it's a matter of outsiders. I think that Hermans can be called an outsider. I don't think he's a main favorite. If you look at his previous results, it's getting together, but it's tough to say if he will be 100% at Namur. I think that it will be difficult for him to fight for victory, but he will definitely be one to watch. And I think that next to that you can probably call Michael Vanthourenhout as well. I think for Sweeck it's going to be a bit difficult because there is a lot of climbing in it. We know that, in my opinion, I think that the climbing will be a struggle for him. But if it's going to be a bit faster, you never know with someone that is in form what he can do. I think that Sweeck is maybe an outsider for a podium, but I don't see him as a clear favorite to win the championships.
I think for Van der Haar, a lot depends on the weather. It's important to distinguish between the Namur we know in the December period when it's cold, it's raining, it's muddy, and the Namur we have now. I saw an onboard lap of the course. It looked relatively fast, but we know that Namur is a course that can become a bit muddy pretty quickly. There will be masters races on Saturday, or on Friday, sorry. On Saturday there's the women's race, the women's junior race, and the men's under 23 race. And then when the elite come, they've also had the junior men and the women under 23 go over the course. It's very possible that the course will absolutely be battered and that there's nothing left. Lack of grip, and then we are looking more at a course that's similar to the course in Namur that we have in the Christmas period, and that's not a good course for Lars van der Haar. The last time he got a top 5 was in 2015. Last year he didn't even end in the top 10, and his results there haven't been as great. I do think that if it's dry, it is a course that comes very close to the Koppenberg, a Koppenberg light, with a bit more climbing in terms of ascents, a little less elevation, and a bit less heavy in terms of climbing that needs to be done, and a bit more technical. That should suit Van der Haar very well. These relatively, well, not short, these mid-long climbs are always things he's been good at. Remember way back to the early days of his career when he was racing in Valkenburg. That course was perfect for him. Namur is a bit more difficult than Valkenburg, but it should suit him. Is he the top favorite? I don't think so. I think that Iserbyt would still be my favorite based on the season. Yes, this weekend he looked to be on the back foot, but it's so important to time your peak around the European Championships. I think at least that Iserbyt had a big training week last week, had a bit of racing, didn't take that too serious, and still did relatively well. Taking a bit of rest now and going to be all loaded for the European Championships, and is looking to claim the title there. I will go with Iserbyt because I think that his season so far has been the best and the form will be there.
I definitely think that, the course is the weather is going to play a role, and that, Iserbyt is definitely, I don't count him off in general. I think that just Van der Haar gave me the better impression over the last weekend, and, the momentum is on his side. I think that he's very confident about this week and goes with a lot of confidence into the championships. But, Iserbyt obviously has Vanthourenhout. We have seen in the Koppenberg that the two were able to bring up a fight to Van der Haar. That is maybe going to play a role. In general, Belgium loves to talk about strategy, and then when they enter the race, there's not much left of that. So we have to wait and see if Vanthourenhout and Iserbyt actually can get something together. We have seen already last year at the European Championships, we were talking about strategy, and there was not much of it left after. So it's a difficult course. You can plan a lot, but it is very tough, and it's also, I think, in my opinion, is also very hard on the material. I think that things like I wouldn't say punctures in particular, but again with the change that it can. You have the difficulty of chain drops or even punctures. Those things can definitely play a role, and I think that that you need some luck as well on this course.
Yeah, punctures can always be a role, and Namur is a course on which it's pretty easy to be prone to punctures. This year the course got altered a bit, as said, and the biggest rocks that caused the most punctures seem to be avoided, which is a good step forward. Let's hope that doesn't play a role. But do you really think, you already mentioned it, the nuance that there might not be a Belgian block? Last year we saw that there was no Belgian block at all. Iserbyt rode Lars van der Haar back when he was dropped on the Vanberg to a group with Belgians. Van der Haar then went on to basically clap all the Belgians, which was pretty funny to see. In terms of team tactics, it's always, as you say, a Belgian block, but very rarely in the modern day there is actually a Belgian block that works. Last year, Hermans seemed to be the victim of that he was almost European champion. He thought at least that he was, and then got passed by Lars van der Haar. So if you're already looking at no Belgian block but a Paul Sauze block, do you see there actually being a Paul Sauze block? Or will Michael Vanthourenhout, once the European title is on the line, think, hey, I want this European title as well? For the other crosses, it's maybe easier for him to say, well, team tactics, Jurgen Mettepenning or whatever, but maybe at the European Championships he's thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm also a rider, I also want a title, and Vanthourenhout doesn't have a title in the elite category.
Yeah, I think it will depend more on Iserbyt than on Vanthourenhout, and maybe Vanthourenhout wasn't really happy about what happened in the Koppenberg, or at least, the Koppenberg was definitely not a smooth operation of team tactics. There were quite some misunderstanding between the two over the course of the race. It was not as fluid as we've seen over course of other races, and I think that actually might have help them into this race. I think that there have been a talk between the riders, or at least Paul Sauze, Vanthourenhout and Iserbyt, but I think it depends more on Iserbyt. Iserbyt is going to be the one that can play a very big role in this, and if he gambles on Vanthourenhout attacks early, which we have seen he can do quite often. If he has a good start, then it is up to Iserbyt to see if he's that cool and can play cool and just let Van der Haar do the work, or panics and wants to win the jersey and then goes behind Vanthourenhout. It's a jersey that is at stake, and kind of already know that Van Aert and Van der Poel will be starting at the World Championships, so this is actually maybe for them the only chance to get a jersey. Nationals is also quite difficult now with Van Aert probably starting there as well, so there is a lot at stake, and it's going to be interesting to see if that is going to influence them in terms of tactics.
Yeah, the more at stake, the less likely team tactics are, because the more likely it is that the rider wants to take what's at stake themselves. I think there will be some sort of tactics, but as usual, I don't expect a big Belgian block, and I don't even think that we will see the same skill of team tactics Paul Sauze has been using earlier this year. Vanthourenhout will probably not chase Iserbyt in the final lap. Iserbyt will probably chase Vanthourenhout, I would say. Last year we saw that Iserbyt really didn't care about anything. National team, trade team, it didn't matter. He just went for himself at the last moment and helped Van der Haar towards victory. So I would say that Vanthourenhout would still bring up the respect and really play the good cop as he usually does, but they won't be actively putting in these insane team tactics of letting the gap fall as we see in the normal races. I don't believe that. I would be very surprised if that happens, especially because there's more than just the two Paul Sauze guys. They still have to deal with of course, Van der Haar. I've mentioned him a couple of times now, so let's move on. We still have Laurens Sweeck at the start and Quinten Hermans. What do you think about this course and the race for them? I mean, you already went over Hermans briefly, but do you think these riders will compete for the title?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think that for Hermans, it's we have seen over the course, the last couple of races were well, but they were not something that would tell me that he's going to be fighting for the championship. I think that he will be up there. The form is good. It's difficult to place him somewhere. I think that Hermans will definitely have an advantage, or will be in a better position if it's going to be tougher. So I think that if it's going to be a little bit more muddy and it's going to be a lot of pushing the bike and not a really fast course, I think then for Hermans there are some chances. And I think for Sweeck a bit similar, but Sweeck in general on this course I don't see it happen for him. I think that if he is actually able to get on the podium, that would already be for him quite an achievement. But yeah, you never know. I mean, he didn't do the Koppenberg. He has that advantage in a way. Had the time to train and recover, while the others were fighting it out on the Koppenberg till the last lap. So that can be an advantage, but we have to wait and see for Sweeck. In my opinion, I don't see Sweeck fighting for the victory, and a podium for him would already be, in my opinion, a very good achievement.
Yeah, it's a very bad course for Sweeck to be racing the Europeans at. I think his last very good result, or decent result, was 2016 when he got 5th here, and all the other years he was at the back end of the top 10. It's really not a course for him, too much climbing, but I don't put it past him to actually be up there for a long time. This year there has been a different Sweeck. Sweeck looked lively, he's looked super strong, but at the same time, if we look at what's going on with Sweeck, they're really hyping him based on Fayetteville and making Fayetteville a heavy climbing course, and he's able to follow Iserbyt, but Fayetteville is not a heavy climbing course. Fayetteville has one climb, which is steep, and with a good acceleration, Sweeck was able to follow Iserbyt at the very edge of his teeth. Like, it took whatever he had left in his legs to be able to follow Iserbyt up that climb. Namur has climbs like that, maybe a bit less steep, but 3 times a lap. It's really a different type of effort. Sweeck, despite being in very good form, is probably just a bit too big, a bit too heavy for these type of courses. But a podium could definitely be in it for him. I think it will depend on Vanthourenhout and Hermans, because I think that at the moment I would place Van der Haar and Iserbyt at the top, then Vanthourenhout and Hermans, and then Sweeck, and then the rest.
I would put Van der Haar, as first guy, and then with Iserbyt, and then Vanthourenhout third guy together with Hermans, and that will depend on how tough the course will be, and from there on I think you have to look at Sweeck and then maybe the guys that moved up from the under 23, Van de Putte, van the Bosch, they have been showing well. Lokes had a good run on the Koppenberg. Let's see if he can maybe get a good result. And with Hendricks and Kamp, you definitely have some guys that will be try to get into that top 10, and I think that it will overall be a very good fight for those first 10 places, and in general I think that it will be a very good race.
Yeah, for those broader top 10 places, Jens Adam should be able to do well. This course suits him. I think for the rest we should not forget about the guy who was so strong in Maasmechelen, Joris Nieuwenhuis, got robbed from a good position there by a puncture. He will definitely be up there as well. Maybe Joshua Dubois can surprise us and get a top 10. Interested to see what Jacob Dorigoni can do. He was 9th at the European Championships last year. This year I haven't seen him in action. I don't know if he did some local races, but he was pretty good last year on this course. And I think in general Namur is an okay course for him. Didn't do all too well in the World Cup here last year, but it should be alright. I think he ended third in the under 23 race here in 2019, I would say, from the top of my head, or maybe it was 18, don't know on that, but he should be able to be in the mix for the top 10. Thomas Meen maybe did well on the Koppenberg, we'll see on that, but for the podium I would still like to finish off with a comment on Hermans. Do you think that the expectations for Hermans are too high in the Belgian media, that he's being overhyped? I think he kind of is, because they hype him based on Maasmechelen, but they forget that in Maasmechelen the first 3 laps were a parade, and he was able to take a lot of time back then, and eventually ends at the back end of the top 10. Not too special because of those parade laps, to me at least.
Yeah, I think Maasmechelen has been overrated by the Belgian media, or his performance there at least. I think that the way he came back, the pace at the front was kind of dropping, was quite clear, and I don't want to talk down the performance of Hermans, because I think he still did very well, and he did well in all the races that he participated in a way, but I just think that I haven't seen something that will tell me that he's going to win or going to fight for victory. And I think that he is also overestimated because his campaign on the road, he's more known right now. These things they're all adding up, and then people are going to have some sort of expectations from you, and they can be a bit higher than the results have been. And he can surprise us. I would definitely want to see him fight or bring up the fight to Van der Haar and Iserbyt and Vanthourenhout. And I think he will for the first part of the race, but I just don't see him for the whole race to be there at the front. But we'll see.
Time for some predictions then. What is your podium prediction, Issam?
I think that I will go with Van der Haar that will win. And then I will go for second place. Iserbyt, and I think that third can be given to Quinten Hermans. I think that Vanthourenhout will probably use his energy in the first half of the race and then not have enough to fight for a podium.
I will be going with a slightly different top 3. I will be going with a win for Eli Iserbyt ahead of Lars van der Haar, just as I did in Maasmechelen, and well, that didn't turn out too well, but anyway, the third place then I think will go to Laurens Sweeck. I think he will be surprising us by finally getting a good result here. Let's go and talk about the women's race then. No need to go over the decision of Fem van Empel to race the elite category. We've discussed this thoroughly in the previous weeks. Good decision, so no need to go over that, but is there anybody who can stop her?
No. maybe a mechanical, but no. Look, they still have to race and they still have to do the laps. But in the current form, if nothing happens to her, and she's healthy at the start, doesn't have any major setbacks in terms of mechanical or something, it for me it's quite obvious that's in every kind of situation Van Empel will win. And that's crazy to say considering her age and considering that it's basically her first year that she's doing this at this level, how she's riding right now and winning and stuff. But yeah, it's quite clear in my opinion. We cannot really come up with another story and say that for example the Betsma will bring up the fight. I think the more interesting part will be if Lucinda Brandt will be starting.
Yeah, I think Brandt will be starting based on her interview with the NOS, which is the public Dutch news agency, and she said there that she doesn't feel any pain anymore. It doesn't really hamper anymore. She got surgery. They put something over it to protect it. And she was really feeling well, back training on the indoor trainer, doing some core training. The only thing she was scared about was about it affecting her long-term recovery. I think that is not going to be the case based on the decision to put her on the entry list, because else, why would you already make the decision? That's something that you can know right away if it's going to hamper you long-term or not. So I expect her to start, but we can't have any expectations because, yes, you might not have any pain when you're training, but if you're racing heartbeat 180, 190 in Namur, needing to go over these bumps, needing to do a lot of steering, maybe it will be hurting again a bit. We don't know how much it has affected her form. She, of course, underwent surgery. Surgery is never good for the level of your form. It seriously affects it. So I think based on that, it's difficult to place Lucinda Brandt somewhere. I think she will definitely be up there at the front. I don't think she would start if she thinks her form is bad. So she will be up there. But for the win against this Van Empel, I don't think so. Of course, anything can happen. It's a cross race. There can be a mechanical, there can be a crash, there can be a bad day, just like Iserbyt had last year. But I don't expect it based on the level we've seen so far. So for me, Van Empel, the clear favorite. Lucinda Brandt, big question mark. If she pulls off the win here, that would be something else. I think I would need to go to a cross race by bike this winter to compensate for that or something, because that would be something else. But don't think that will happen. I'm really looking at Van Empel. If we are both agreeing then that Van Empel is clearly the favorite and that she should be able to take the win relatively easy based on her performances so far this year, who are you looking at for the rest of the podium slots? Question mark Brandt, but what about Betsema, Alvarado? You were quite positive about Prevot on the Koppenberg. What do you think?
I think that for the places behind Van Empel, you indeed have to look maybe. I think that Betsema is giving a good impression. The form looks to be there or thereabout. She's definitely she made, in my opinion, a small but good step from the start of the season till now. So there is definitely some improvement there, and I think that for her it's probably a goal to perform well in the European Championships. So I think that Betsema is definitely somebody that will be up there trying to get a podium. Vorst had a I would say terrible last weekend. It looked quite promising at the start of the season. I don't think that just disappeared, but for some odd reason, the weekend was one word, almost terrible. So it's going to be interesting if she's going to come back from that and perform well. I mean, obviously we still have Capablanca Vaz. That is definitely something to look forward to see what she can do on this course. Like you said, Prevot is also going to start. Not really expecting much from her. Just very happy already that she's going to be starting, and her presence in general is going to be already quite good. That brings some eyeballs to the race in general, and I think that is good. And from there, it's I think you go back to the usual suspects to fill up the top 10, and it depends a bit if it's going to be a course that's not going to be that hard. Then maybe you can look for Inge van der Heijden, and then from there you have to look maybe a Ribeirol if she has a good form, Clozel, and then it's counting down, and then you just go down from there. One woman that I've mentioned, Vos, is just very hard for me to place. It's very difficult for me to place. I don't know how you think about Vos, but for me it's difficult.
I can only agree. I have no clue at all what the form level of Vos is. It didn't look all too good in Maasmechelen. Namur, again, not a course that really suits her. Vos last year was struggling on the harder courses, skipped Namur for that exact reason. It's been a while since I've seen her do well in Namur. It could be her third European title. She won her first in 2005, so that sink in. Van Empel is a 2002 kid. She was 3 years old then. Pretty insane stat that, but where will Vos stand? I don't expect her on the podium. I think this course is too hard. She's better on the faster courses. Hoge Heide Worlds, I will definitely be counting on her there, but now, no, I don't think so. I am looking for the other podium spots, despite the injury at Lucinda Brandt, Denise Betsema. You mentioned names like Ribeirol and Clauzel. Those will fight for the top 10. Worst had a knee injury this weekend. Don't think she will be a factor. Alvarado, course will be too hard for her as well. She skipped the Koppenberg. Why? She doesn't like the Koppenberg. It's a way too hard cross. She and Mathieu van der Poel both despise the Koppenberg. So I don't expect her here in Namur either. Who do I expect then for the third podium spot? Probably Vash. I think her form is pretty good. It's been improving week in, week out. She's built in towards this race, planned in towards this race. Course is very good for her with the climbing. It's probably a course that comes close to mountain bike. Maybe the closest mountain biking course besides Beringen then. And Vash has the experience on the mountain bike with the technical downhills, the climbing sections. It should be very good for her. Normally I would also want to say Pietersen van Anrooy, but they are racing the under 23 race. So my podium would probably be the win for Van Empel ahead of Vash and Brandt. Don't know if you want to make a prediction as well.
Yeah, I have to. So, I mean, first place Van Empel. I mean, yeah, clear. I think second. I will say Betsema, and then for third, I hope Vash. I hope that Vash can actually get a podium again. I think that she deserves it after a relative good start of the season. And Vos can surprise me, but it's just for me. It's so hard to tell if she's actually going to be able to be able to bring up a fight for the podium. But she can surprise me. But I will go with Vash for third.
Interesting. Hopefully some entertaining races. Also, the under 23 races will be broadcasted on GCN this weekend, which is nice. Junior races not. We will be live blogging the junior women's race over on our Twitter. Men's junior race, not too sure. Don't think I will be there on the Sunday, as I will be watching from my couch, so I can give the good analysis on the podcast. Issam, once again, thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And we will be back on Saturday evening with a podcast about the Namur World Cup. It's weird to say Namur and European Championships in the same sentence because I've been used to it being in the World Cup for so long. Anyway, the Namur European Championships this weekend. See you guys then for the recap. Goodbye.